Fuck around, make my 40 pop.
Alright y'all, Boruto chapter 63 spoilers. This right here is going to be probably the biggest chapter that we did get over the past couple of chapters, and I believe possibly in the Kishimoto era when it comes to this brand new arc. Now, the big thing about this is going to be the fact that, coming to this chapter, we understood that Boruto was going to be joining Kawaki to actually battle against Code. That wasn't necessarily the case. I do want to get into that a little bit later, but I do want to talk about the biggest story in this particular chapter at first. Boruto unlocked the second stage of the Karma Seal. Now, this right here is very interesting. It doesn't necessarily seem like he completely mastered it, so we can't necessarily pass any aspersions about him completely, mastering it just yet, but it looks like he did tap into it. This form looked absolutely amazing. It looks like Boruto's Karma Seal on his face and on his fingers have the patterns of BoruShiki, but there's a very key difference upon why I believe that this right here is not actually Momoshiki taking over Boruto's body. If you guys do recall, when Momoshiki took over Boruto's body, not only did he have the horn, but also his left eye was closed. Now, this right here could definitely be explained for a couple of reasons. Now, I think one of the obvious things that we could possibly point to is the fact that Boruto actually did rip off of his horn. So this right here could possibly mean that we will never actually get to see the horn again, even if Momoshiki actually does take over Boruto's body. So we do have to keep that in mind. But the fact that Boruto's left eye opened means a lot to me. This pretty much tells me that Boruto is actually in control. If you guys do recall, the first few times when Boruto was taken over by Momoshiki Otsutsuki, his left eye was closed. Only the right eye was open, which was the Byakugan eye. That right side basically signified that it was Momoshiki in control. And of course, the last time that we did see BoruShiki in the Boruto anime, when Boruto was waking up, we seen his left eye slowly opening. This time though, they are both open, which again tells me that Boruto is most likely in control of this form. So it is going to be amazing to see Boruto in action. A couple of things that I definitely do want to point out: Boruto has 100% full chakra reserves. Well, not necessarily 100%, but he has a lot of chakra reserve, a lot of chakra that Momoshiki just didn't have access to when he did actually go into the BoruShiki form from Boruto. Not only that, Boruto also does not have the actual battle experience of Momoshiki, so I definitely do want to see exactly how this right here plays into the form. One of the things that we did understand from BoruShiki when Momoshiki took over is that Momoshiki is essentially putting all of his battle experience into Boruto. Now, this right here is kind of hinted towards when Code actually talked about it. He basically said the Karma Seal actually does have the heart of the Otsutsuki, or like the battle experience of the Otsutsuki. We don't necessarily know that for sure yet, but we do understand when Momoshiki took over Boruto, he created a giant Rasengan in an instant. He was able to fly in Boruto's body. He was able to do a bunch of stuff that only Momoshiki Otsutsuki knows how to do. So it's going to be very interesting to see if Boruto can actually utilize these things. And if he can't, it would possibly mean that he's not necessarily up there with a character like Code. Now, don't get me wrong, stage 2 of the Karma Seal is probably going to be absolutely insane, but in my personal opinion, it's not necessarily going to do much if he doesn't necessarily have that battle experience necessary to actually beat a character like Code. Now, not only that, there's a whole bunch of other stuff that did happen in this actual chapter as well. I think one of the biggest things that we could possibly take from this is the fact that Naruto now knows that Boruto did actually leave the Hidden Leaf Village. Of course, when Boruto went to the actual scene with Kawaki and Code, one of the reasons why he wanted to go there is because they couldn't necessarily track Code or Kawaki, but they can, however, track Boruto. And if they can't track Boruto, then of course we can possibly assume that help would eventually arise there. And that's exactly what they were talking about in these spoilers. They're basically saying that they have to make their moves very quickly. Code and Ada I'm talking about specifically, because Naruto and everybody else are probably on their way. It took Naruto some time, but he did actually realize that Boruto was gone. In the spoilers, we didn't necessarily get to see them say that they actually did search for Boruto's chakra signatures and actually define Boruto, but we can safely assume that right there will probably take place in the next chapter. So Sasuke and Naruto are probably going to be pulling up very, very soon. Now, not only that, Kawaki is still 100% confused. We don't know what Kawaki is thinking as of right now. Now, don't get me wrong, he did kind of rationalize it a little bit, but at first I was completely perplexed. I was confused. I was befuddled. After Code broke down the science to Kawaki in the last chapter, basically detailing how his plan includes everybody in the Hidden Leaf Village and everybody on the planet potentially dying, Kawaki still wants to go with Code to actually save Naruto. Now, his reasoning behind this is because it seems that Code is not necessarily the big boss. It seems that Code is actually answering to somebody, and because of that, Kawaki actually wants to talk to the person that Code is actually answering to. So this right here makes a lot of sense from Kawaki. I definitely do want to clap it up for him, but it's still a very confusing situation, mainly because Code's overall plan just includes the death of characters such as Naruto, Boruto, and everybody else that he really holds close. I think this right right here is definitely a very good idea for Kawaki. I'm going to detail that in the review when the actual chapter really comes out. But as of right now, I'm just going to say it's a decent idea from Kawaki, but not what Kawaki is actually intending to do. Before all the big stuff actually went down, we did actually get to see Code versus Boruto. This fight right here went exactly how we assumed it would probably go. We understand that Code is 100% stronger than Boruto and Kawaki combined, and of course Boruto himself couldn't really do much. Boruto did pop out a couple of cool jutsus that kind of caught Code off guard a bit. In fact, one of my favorite things that Boruto did actually do was that coming into the battle, he already had preloaded shadow clones that already did their transformation jutsus into shurikens. So all Boruto had to do was take out his shuriken and throw that Code, and then boom, that right there was a shadow clone already. So there's a couple things that Boruto did very well. I don't necessarily want to talk too much about, you know, my opinions about this chapter, mainly because I do want to keep a lot of my opinions for the review. You could probably tell that I'm skipping over a bunch of stuff, but regardless, there's a lot of good things that were actually added in these spoilers. And of course, if you guys do actually want to see these spoilers came out from Organic Dinosaur on Twitter. I kind of forgot to mention that in the beginning, but this chapter right here is shaping up to be a very good chapter. As I said, it's probably going to be one of the better chapters that Kishimoto did actually write. And of course, the next chapter is going to be BoruShiki, or Boruto in Stage 2 of the Karma Seal, versus Code. Now that right there is going to be absolutely insane. Hopefully we do get to see some appearances from Sasuke and Naruto, but only time will tell for that. But it's been your boy Baara B. But let me know what you guys think about this chapter in the comment section below. I forgot to add that. And we out.
It's a knife.